Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet world. How we doing today on a beautiful Tuesday, West Alabama? We're right here in downtown Northport. This is the Joe Gaither Show right here on BamaCentral at BamaCentral.com. I am your host, Joe Gaither. You can find me on all your social media platforms at Joe Gaither6. You can find BamaCentral at BamaCentral.com, at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated on Facebook. You can find us at BamaCentral SI on Instagram. We'd love to have you guys follow BamaCentral. We are your Sports Illustrated home for your Alabama Crimson Tide, and I'm proud to be a part of the BamaCentral Broadcasting Network along with our friends Blue Collar Unplugged. We encourage you to follow Blue Collar Unplugged as they are covering Alabama basketball ins and outs. Jacob Pickle, Matthew Gibson, and Blake Byler giving you all things Alabama basketball on Blue Collar Unplugged. All right, so what do we do? We had a fun Monday yesterday recapping the weekend. We talked Alabama basketball, the result against Purdue. We talked about the Heisman Trophy a little bit. We talked about kind of some of the transfers just a touch. What are we going to do today? We're going to go down to Mobile and find our friend Michael Brauner, WNSP 105.5 WNSP. You can find him on the Sound of Mobile app as well. You can now hear him in the mornings. He's going to tell you about that because frankly, I'm not an early riser. I'm not dialing into my radio until later in the day when I'm ready to cool down. So I'm going to have to dial him up on the Sound of Mobile app to hear it afterwards. Michael Brauner, what's going on, man? How was your morning shift? How have you been doing? I just looked at our DMs and our texts. We haven't had you on the show since my birthday, but you are the first three-time guest jumping outside of our BamaCentral friends. So I appreciate you hanging out with us on a wonderful Tuesday.
The first three-time guest. That's big time.
You're out there. You're official friend of the program.
That's the friend of the program status. That might be more than friend of the program status. That's big time there. No, it's going well on the mornings. I'm not a morning person either, but I've kind of just had to be one. Yeah, you can always find our stuff on Spotify at WNSP now, since I know you're not getting up at 6 a.m. and listening to it on the Sound of Mobile app. But
you're starting at 5:45. You're getting up there 5:30.
Yeah, it's some days are more stretched than others. It depends. It's funny. Like I'm always now rooting for a bad game on primetime football, because then I can just go to bed at halftime. Whereas it was annoying when they would put Zach Wilson against Aiden O'Connell in primetime when I was working normal hours. Versus, this week on Thursday, we got Easton Stick against Aiden O'Connell. And that, I can just skip that one and go to bed at 9 o'clock. And that'll be an nice early morning on Friday. It'll be an easy wake up there.
Oh, man. So, you can hear him down there at 105.5, not 105.1, 105.5 WNSP. The main reason I wanted to bring you on, one, we have a lot of fun with you each and every time, but there is a huge reason to bring you on. We celebrated it yesterday. We led off the show with Ryan Williams' reclassification. You've been calling football games for Saraland High School throughout the entire season, if not every game. What have you got? 6, 7, 8 Ryan Williams games under your belt this year. Ryan Williams, I'm looking, how how much I hate Max Preps, but here's the stats that I have from Max Preps for our boy Ryan Williams, who reclassified into the 2024 class. 30 carries, 260 yards, 7 touchdowns, 72 receptions for 20 touchdowns, 1,300 yards on that aspect as well. Let's see. Yeah, his all-purpose yards, 1,324. My man was getting it done. Obviously, he had 4 touchdowns in the state championship against Clay Chalkville. They came up short. What in the world did you see out of Ryan Williams? I've been badgering you all year about, will Ryan Williams reclassify? You never did go out on the limb. You never did break that story. What in the world is Alabama going to get out of Ryan Williams? Hollywood Williams, in the newest receiver, and now the top rated recruit of Alabama's 2024 class.
Well, first of all, I couldn't believe you just said the words Max Preps, going back to our days at Tide 100.
I know.
One of the first things you taught me covering high school football was not to use Max Preps, a lesson I've learned, by the way, to this day. But all that being said, yeah, and you just read all of Ryan Williams' stats. I mean, and they're not even as impressive if you look at last year's stats when he won Mr. Football, by the way, as a 15-year-old sophomore. So obviously he had a ridiculous season this year and he continued to be ridiculous. But I mean, the team, Saraland as a whole, and, it's hard to say this now because they actually didn't win the state championship in 6A this year, whereas they did last year. They were better this year than they were last year, kind of by a wide margin. Defense was certainly better, but they also had more guys on offense that were contributing. C.D. Gill had a great season. Jordan Dees, the tight end, had a great season for Saraland. They had a lot of guys that were contributing, and it wasn't kind of just the Ryan Williams show like it was a little bit last year. Again, nothing wrong with it. Obviously, just the Ryan Williams show was a successful formula last year. I think you saw in person what they did to Hillcrest up in Tuscaloosa. They beat them again in Saraland. This time I called that game in the second round this year. But, yeah, I mean – He's unbelievable, man. I mean, he's relative to competition. He's the best athlete I've ever seen in person. I've said that time and time again. I've never seen anything like it. He's the fastest player on any football field he steps onto. I think that is going to apply even when he gets to Tuscaloosa. I was pretty shocked to see the result against Clay Chalkville. Not so much because, honestly, I thought Saraland's, and this is getting a lot more into, Saraland than it is Ryan Williams. But
it's fine. Continue. It's fine. Give it to us. We like context.
I didn't think that, and as fantastic as Jalen Mbakwe, also another 5-star in this class, is, I just didn't think they'd be able to run the ball like they were able to. Again, no one has been able to do. Even going back to the game against Lipscomb Academy up in Nashville, they played in the first game because it's the only close game Saraland's played all year. No one has been able to run the ball. They got another Alabama commit in Antonio Coleman on that defensive line. It's one of the best front threes, really, probably in the state. The front seven as a whole is phenomenal. So no one has been able to run the ball on that team. And obviously that Clay Chalkville offense, Jalen Mbakwe, is fantastic as he is. He's not coming to Alabama to play quarterback. So, I didn't think that they would be able to run the ball to victory, and they were. Mbakwe was phenomenal. The defense had an off night, and, kind of just they came up 2 yards short of a state championship, and maybe some clock mismanagement helped that as well. But it is what it is, Ryan. You got to see two of the best players in the class, and by all accounts, I don't think Alabama has anything to worry about in terms of holding on to Ryan Williams. It is, I don't know. In your opinion, I'm curious what you think, if it's a bit odd, because I keep going back and forth on this, that he's not signing here in 2 weeks or 10 days, whatever the number is, versus signing in February, because he is signing in February 9th. That's his birthday, he said. Whereas I guess he could sign in 8 days or whatever the number is. If he wanted to. I know Julian Sayin is going to sign in 8 days. A lot of these guys are. So, I mean, it's just another 2 months to enjoy the recruitment. That's what he's kind of said throughout the whole process. I don't think Alabama has anything to worry about. Obviously, if he were to, I don't even want to say flip, but if he were to flip, it would be Auburn. That's like what it is at this point. I think it's Alabama or Auburn for Ryan Williams at this point. I think Julian Sayin's about to sign. Obviously, Ryan Williams is not about to sign. I think Mbakwe is about to sign as well in this early period. So, yeah, I mean, I think Alabama, it's still a firm lock there. People down here were making a big deal about the fact that Auburn had 3 coaches at that press conference yesterday and Alabama didn't have any. I think that's kind of, whatever. Nick Saban happened to me in Carlsbad, California yesterday with Julian Sayin. So I saw your tweet about, we just got you a new wide receiver for Christmas. So we'll see what happens. I'm not too concerned about it. Boy, oh boy, the Auburn fans really, really thought for a minute there that was the announcement, though, didn't they?
Did they really? I mean, I didn't really feel that from my end of the Twitter sphere, my black hole of just Alabama centric content. My main Ryan Williams. I mean, first, to address your signing in February, I think he just wants to do it on his birthday. He's not going to be enrolling early like a lot of these guys are. Look, on Friday, these guys are enrolling early. Julian Satan's going to be on campus. You're going to have probably 15 to 20. You're probably going to have a 15 to 18 recruits getting their pads sized up for practice on Saturday as they're going to be enrolling early. A lot of these the signing ceremonies are ceremonial. They'll already be on campus.
Keep in mind, Ryan Williams also graduating a year early.
Exactly. He's not going to be there.
Roll early. Yeah.
So he's not going to be there. He's going to be having to do a lot of coursework. And really, this lies into my next question. Like, even if you were there, let's say he were able to sign early and be there or whatever, just because he were a year older than he actually is. Mind you, he's 17, 16, he's right in that range. I keep reading 6 foot, 5'11", 165, 170, and you hit it earlier in your comment saying that he's the fastest player on the football field that he's been on, and in high school, easily so. But what's it going to take? Is Ryan Williams? I've seen some Devontae Smith comparisons as far as Slim Reaper, skinny guy. Is he gonna have to put on some weight? Is he what's his prospect for? We got to get this kid a little bit bigger. I mean, you've stood next to him, you've interviewed him, you've been around him all fall long. You've seen him down there at Saraland making plays and really becoming a superstar. What's his development need as far as physical? What does he need to do physically to be ready to play the college game? Because think about it. Jalen Milroe bomb shot to Ryan Williams in 2024. Could that be a deadly recipe? You never know what it's going to be, but people are expecting he's going to be the top player in the class. You're the 5-star player. You got to get out there right away. Is he going to be ready physically to play college freaking football next year?
Yeah, I think people probably think he's a little bit skinnier than he's not this twig of a guy. But I think probably any strength coach would probably tell you there's room to grow there. Again, he's 16 years old. For God's sakes. I mean, yes, the kid is going to get bigger. And I think placing him in a college strength program is going to, do wonders for him at that point. How much room there is to grow without losing speed, I'm not exactly sure on that. But I mean, he needs to get a little bit bigger. You don't want to.
Can he contribute next year? Is really the main question.
I don't see why not. To give you a short answer on that one, yeah, I do think he's that good. I don't think he's going to come in and be wide receiver 1 right away like a lot of people expect. Which I think that's delusional, frankly, to expect not only a freshman receiver to come in, but a reclassified freshman receiver to come in. But yeah, I think he can be in the rotation a little bit, kind of like how Isaiah Bond was, like something like that. I don't think he's going to come in and be a star immediately. It's possible. We're going to find out a lot about him this summer. I mean, we'll obviously he's going to be the talk of camp, I think, quite a bit, and and we'll find out. I'm hesitant to say he's going to come in and just start dominating right away. But what I do know about him and what everyone has said about him is that he's going to do the things required to make that happen. As good of as talented as he is, he's as hard a worker as he is talented, and he's as good of a kid as he is talented. So, he's going to do whatever it takes to make that happen. It's just, is that feasible? Is that really possible to come in as a 16 going on 17-year-old, making the leap from 6A high school football to, SEC football? I don't know. I think he can certainly contribute as a freshman. I don't expect him to come in and be a superstar right away, but they don't need him to come in and be a superstar right away.
Ryan Williams moves into the 2024 class. He automatically becomes the top-rated recruit in the 2024 class for Alabama, as Michael Brauner has covered him all year long. Ryan Hollywood Williams, man. I'm really excited to get him.
You should be excited. He's the best.
What's the tell me about what he is off the field. I mean, you've talked to him a handful of times. What's he like personality-wise?
He's a reserved guy. I think a lot of them are, but we've had him in studio a couple of times. You get him to open up a little bit, and he's fun, man. I mean, he's a kid who loves the game of football. I don't know him all too well, but we've gotten to talk to him a few different times, and I get the impression that he's just a kid who loves football, and I think he's very excited. I think more importantly, not more importantly, but he loves Alabama. In the conversations I've had with him, he's asked me before, like, you going to Tuscaloosa this weekend? And if I happen to be, I'll say, yeah, Ryan, I'm going to Tuscaloosa this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, he's great, man. I'm really excited to see him at Crimson. Certainly hope Alabama can hold on to him.
Well, I feel pretty confident that they will hold on to him. Let's talk another receiver who seems like he's making, diva-like moves. Perry Thompson's asking for an editor. Perry Thompson is asking for anybody got any photo editing skills And last we heard from Perry Thompson, 5-star receiver out of Foley, was that he was flipping from Alabama to Auburn because Hugh Freeze develops all receivers better than Nick Saban, allegedly, was the region. And that was in the summertime or so.
Right before the high school season, yeah.
Right. Late summer or so. And now he's asking for an editor online. And what is he going to be doing? What's he going to be announcing? Is he just jealous that his buddy Cam Coleman got news and got a lot of shine flipping from Texas A&M to Auburn, and now his buddy Ryan Williams is getting shine and getting a lot of attention for reclassifying into the 2024 class? So Perry Thompson says, I've got to make an announcement too. I've got to get my shine on. What's he going to be saying, Michael Brauner? Is he flipping back to the Tide?
I don't think so. As for the Cam Coleman, I hope so. And I'll say this: I haven't covered Perry Thompson nearly as much as I've covered Ryan Williams. I've only done one Foley game. But all that being said, Cam Coleman and Ryan Williams are on a different level than Perry Thompson is. And Perry Thompson's a great player, and it's probably going to be a very productive college player. But I think it's Ryan Williams here, Cam Coleman a couple notches below him, and then kind of a significant drop off before. And that's not a knock on Perry Thompson. It's really more so saying how good Ryan Williams is and how good Cam Coleman. And Cam Coleman is phenomenal. Cam Coleman is going to be a superstar. But all that being said, yeah, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about Perry Thompson lately. I haven't so much ear to the ground heard as what's going on with him locally. I guess you could say flip watch, maybe.
There's no way. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think a lot of it is trolling. Like I see so much. It's hard to. It's when you're chronically on Twitter like I am, it's hard to separate what's trolling from what's reality. Like a lot of these Alabama accounts like to say, I'm hearing Perry's in town. I'm hearing Perry's dissatisfied. I saw Perry's dissatisfied with his, and just like ridiculous stuff that isn't true. So I think Perry is firmly at Auburn, but man, that would be something if he flipped back. I don't expect it. I think Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Bryce Kane, by the way, another guy from down here. He goes to went to Baker High School, played with Josh Flowers, who's going to Mississippi State, or actually Josh is decommitted from Mississippi State. But Bryce Kane's another guy from down here who's going to Auburn. He's got track speed, so it's a really good receiver class Auburn's bringing in, even without the alleged flip of Ryan Williams. If I'll tell you what, if somehow Auburn did flip Ryan Williams, which I don't think is going to happen, that is possibly the best receiving class on paper, maybe in recruiting history. It's certainly like on that same level of that Bama that Bama Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy class. It's certainly on that level. It might even be better, but I don't think Alabama has to worry about it.
You said dissatisfied with his NIL deal made me think of some news that's broken. It's not Alabama. Well, it is Alabama related by proxy. Dylan Raiola has announced or alleged or insinuated to the University of Georgia. And for those who haven't followed, Dylan Raiola is the 5-star quarterback that's right behind Julian Sayin. He's kind of been the number 2, number 3 quarterback in the class. And sometimes people have wanted him to be the number 1 quarterback in the class. Depends on who you're asking. He's been committed to Georgia for all this time. Now comes out that apparently Nebraska and the Cornhuskers are offering him $3 million to flip, and he is on total flip watch to go to the Big Ten to play for Matt Rule. The Bulldogs have another quarterback in the class already, so many of my Bulldog friends are saying, so long, sayonara, see you later. But what do you make of Dylan Raiola and his whole recruitment? Been solid with the Dogs for 11 months and change, and now considering going out to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, poor Poverty Kirby can't get exactly who he wants. No, I mean it was crazy yesterday. I mean this isn't just like noise. Like this is like a Steve Wiltfong crystal ball prediction flipping to Nebraska. Like that's like when you sound the alarm if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan and say, oh man, like this is probably happening. We've probably lost Dylan Raiola. It's funny too because Matt Rule was the one just like a week or two ago saying, you know how much it costs to get a quarterback in the port. I think they're going after Kyle McCord as well, which whatever, I guess. Kyle McCord to Dylan Raiola, I guess, seems like an ideal succession plan based on what they had this year. Fine, if you want to bring in Kyle McCord as well. But yeah, I mean, it's Kirby's finding out it's not so easy in the NIL era. You're not just going to get everyone you want just because you want them. But I was pretty shocked to hear that. I mean, you're talking about a kid who transferred to Buford High School to play his senior year at Buford, who brought in like 7 different recruits to Georgia. You're talking about his Buford teammate KJ Bolden, who committed to Georgia largely because Dylan Raiola is committed to Georgia. Now maybe he's on flip watch. Who knows? Like, these Georgia fans, I don't know if you've seen these message boards. Like, again, they're being irrational if they're legitimately panicking. Obviously, you don't want to lose them, but even if you do, it's going to be fine. But some of them are freaking out a little bit.
It's going to be a lot of fun seeing these next 8 days go by, and really, on the 20th is pretty much your national signing day. Coach Saban acknowledged that in 16 and 17 Alabama. No. In 14 was the first playoff, right? In 14 was the first playoff, and I'm pretty sure that was the first year of the early signing date as well. And that was the year, basically the first year that coincided together, the early signing date and the playoff schedule. Coach Saban has talked many times about bungling kind of that whole calendar and basically missing out on that class because he thought that the February date was still going to be so important. But on that first year, so many top recruits signed on the 20th, shut down the recruitment and signed on the 20th that the Alabama staff had to basically rework their entire calendars. At this point, I mean, Nick Saban, you're basically looking at 1 or 2 guys this past week when they were visiting, when they were doing in-person visiting. Most of their visits were with already committed prospects, people that were, all right, I'll see you next week for practice. I'll see you. Make sure you fax. Here's the number to fax in your paperwork on the 20th. Make sure your commitment's all good. Like, Alabama's pretty much fully on to the 2025 class. It'll be interesting to see if there's any surprises over the next 8 days in the Alabama realms, but I expect everything to kind of go as previously planned. But just how fun has it been for you watching Saraland, a loaded high school program, and then just being in the air? I mean, you spent time with me in West Alabama, and I love our West Alabama schools. I love you, Hillcrest. I love you, Gordo. I love you, Bryant Central. I love everybody who listens to this show, who goes in, North Side, North Ridge. I pretty much everybody in West Alabama, I'll pull for you. But that Mobile high school football is a little something different. Tell me about seeing a little different level of high school football this year, and really the last 2 seasons at it. So you've been at it for a minute, and just to be able to see so many top level prospects.
Yeah, it is different down here. It's been a treat. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, just this Saraland season in particular. So it's some of the most talented bunch of kids that on one field. I mean, we got to do that first game of the season, Saraland against Lipscomb. I mean, there are 4 and 5 stars all over the field for Lipscomb too. It's just like the most high school talent you're going to see on one field at one time. I mean, but there are a ton of good teams around here, man. Theodore's been phenomenal for 2 years. MGM this year made it to the semifinals in 7A, which, by the way, we have not had a team from our area make a deep run in the playoffs in 7A in a really long time. MGM and Jared Hollins, who's still committed to South Alabama for now, that was one of the best stories of the entire year. There was some really awesome football down here for the past 2 years, really, and it's going to continue. It's from 1A to 7A, really. It's been pretty special.
Well, we didn't all just want to all hang out in the high school football realm, even though we are excited about Ryan Hollywood Williams and our man Michael Brauner. Cover Ryan Williams all year long at WNSP on 105.5. You can hear him in the mornings or anytime on the Sound of Mobile app or on Spotify, really at 105.5. My man, follow him on the Twitter /X machine at mbrauner WNSP. What'd you think? What'd you think on Sunday, man? What'd you think on Sunday when the college football playoff dropped? Alabama in at number 4. First, did I see photos of you at the SEC championship as well? I had a privilege to be there. So tell me about your experience. It looked like you and some friends were there in Atlanta. And then on Sunday, I mean, really, did you have the same experience that I had on the drive back from Atlanta? Obviously, I'm sitting there. We wrote our stuff. We worked our work. But everybody had post game stuff. But on that drive back, the whole thought is Alabama in? And I was just thinking about it. Should they be in? Yes, they should. Why? Who should be out? Why? They're not. They're going to leave Alabama out. Oh no. They can't leave the SEC champion out. Is it Georgia still going to be in? Is Texas in? Is Florida State? That whole drive back, did you have that same experience? And then how did you react on Sunday morning?
We probably had very similar experiences on that one. First of all, by the way, one of the best college football environments I've ever been in. It was so loud.
Compliment the Georgia fans. They brought it.
Props to them. It was probably about, I would say 70-30 in favor of Georgia, which was a little, I mean, obviously I knew it was going to be slightly leaning towards Georgia, but it was loud in there. I mean, I will admit this, after Carson Beck sliced up Alabama on that opening drive and Alabama went 3 and out twice, I let the thought enter my mind, wow, Alabama is about to get dog walked and exposed, and this is going to be real ugly. I was not thinking good thoughts after those first couple of drives, and then this team did really what they've done all year, and they settled in and they were mentally tough. And I think that's kind of the biggest statement about this team. Like, what did we hear all year last year after the loss? It's like things we haven't heard about Alabama before. It's like, oh, anxiety was creeping in, and we couldn't play on the road, and we're scared. And it's just like I think that team was more talented last year, maybe not so much on defense, but obviously this team is much better coached, and they just play fearless, man. It's just awesome to watch. This team has been on a pretty special run, and they've been a pleasure to watch. But yeah, as for the playoff situation, man, I probably went to bed around 2 a.m. I couldn't get off my phone, probably scrolled from midnight to 2 a.m. reading different people's takes, different people saying we're in, people saying we're definitely in, people saying we're definitely out. I went to bed thinking maybe it's like 50-50. And I was monitoring gambling odds on it to see, it's often a very good indicator. Certainly. After the game, Alabama to get in, like immediately after the game when I was walking out of the stadium, Alabama was like minus 800 to get in. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't even need to watch this Florida State game. Alabama's in. And then, walking around Atlanta trying to find somewhere to eat because, it was just a mess there. And there were so many people in every place. And, watching the Florida State game, poking into different places, watching the worst Louisville offense maybe in college football history. Jack Plummer might be the worst quarterback to start a Power 5 conference championship game that I can remember. It was so bad. It makes me if we got in, so whatever. But like after that block punt or tackled the punter for Louisville, and then the near touchdown in the corner for Louisville, and then Jack Plummer just throws a terrible oh my.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. I was blessed. I was working during that whole time, and the Mercedes-Benz press box. Oh my gosh, it's such a nice press box. They've got these little 10-inch screens on every seat, literally every single seat. And so about midway through the third quarter, we're still working, right? And we all, the Mercedes is cleared out. Boom, all the screens come on, and it's the Florida State game. And so, like, I'm barely looking at it, but it just looked like stab me in the eyeballs. I don't want to watch this bleep.
I think the committee actually watched the game. I'll put it that way. It was just ugly football. Again, like obviously Florida State was bad on offense too. Clearly, they went to the Wildcat offense to have to win the game. But Louisville, man, I think the fact that team was 10-2 was as good of an indictment on the ACC as anything. I mean, their offense, it was I'm getting angry about it all over again. Jack Plummer and that Louisville offense, it was really some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen at a major level. And he was completely lost. But anyway, after the game, I was thinking, like, all right, maybe we have a chance. Like, that was really ugly. And I'm looking at the odds, and, it's looking dicey. And I wake up on Sunday morning, and the odds are down to Florida State's slightly favored a little bit. And I'm thinking, all right, it's over. It's over. Alabama is not going to make it. Florida State is favored at this point after Alabama was minus 800. Now they're about, it was down to about even odds. Maybe even, no was a slight favorite. You got a little bit of plus money on Alabama, no. And I said, this is over. Alabama is not going to make it. They just won 11 games in a row. SEC champions are going to get left out, which, is horrible. But I could understand why it was going to happen. And then, as we started the drive, I think we stopped at Waffle House, and this was probably about an hour before the reveal. My dad texted me, and he's up in New Jersey where it's legal, so he's on FanDuel, so he's all over the apps monitoring.
I hope he makes some money.
FanDuel and DraftKings and ESPN Bet. He texted me.
Jeff, come on, buddy.
He texted me, the odds are shifting. I was like, what do you mean the odds are shifting? I had accepted it was over. I was like, all right, like, let me eat this blueberry waffle, and we're just gonna get back to Mobile. We'll switch spots, and I'll write when the announcement comes that we got left out. And my dad texted, the odds are shifting. Things are shifting around. Alabama's now a slight favorite over Florida State. This is probably about 15 minutes before the announcement. I was like, oh, all right, I'll let myself believe it. I truly thought it was about 50-50. And then they announced Texas third, which I thought was probably a pretty good sign, because it would have been hard to justify Texas over Florida State. If Florida State was going to be in, they probably should have been third over Texas. And then, and then, of course, they go, and now we'll go to the 6th ranked team. they said Jordan, right as they're about to reveal Alabama, they might as well have said, and we'll find out number 4 after this break, and taking a whole commercial break. Yeah, and then jubilation is the best word I can describe. It was unbelievable. That was better than any single moment in the game. Seeing that logo flash up on the screen, it was unbelievable, because I really did think, at best, I never let myself believe it was more than a 50-50, except for right after the game when the odds were like minus 800. I thought it was over, and then I let myself believe maybe it's 50-50. But man, it was something.
Well, we're hanging out with Michael Brauner. We're all excited about the Rose Bowl right there on January 1st. You can follow it at BamaCentral.com, and I'm sure that Michael and his team at WNSP will have all kinds of coverage of the Rose Bowl as well. But in the meantime, the college football transfer portal opened on Monday. The Alabama Crimson Tide have seen, I believe, 5 players. Let's see if we can name them all. Have seen Tyu Jones-Bell, have seen Ja'Cory Brooks, have seen Tyler Buckner, have seen Anquan Barnes, and Isaiah Hastings, all into the transfer portal. You can keep up with the comings and goings of the offseason right there at BamaCentral.com. Obviously, we got a tracker for transfer portal ins and outs, and recruits going ins and outs, and coaches going ins and outs. All right, with that being said, the 5 guys, obviously Ja'Cory Brooks is the only one of any real note. Didn't really play that much this season, but we're going to set those 5 guys aside, Michael. We're going to play with the, 5 minus 85. That's 80 scholarship guys left. We're going to play with the 80 scholarship guys left. Now, obviously, probably 10 to 12 will, 8 to 12 will go off to the NFL. The other, 15 or so will graduate and go to get real world jobs. Maybe. We'll see. Let's play with this. Who do you not want to see hit the transfer portal that might be a transfer portal candidate? Obviously, Ja'Cory, you're not going to say Isaiah Bond, because he's not a portal candidate. He's going to be a wide receiver 1 or 2 next year. He's going to be really competing for big time repetitions. You're probably not going to see, Jam Miller's probably not going to be your transfer portal guy, because he's probably going to get a lot of reps. Guys like that. I'm talking about, I want to know guys that are your Ian Jacksons, your Kendrick Blackshires, maybe your, let's say, who's a defensive back, maybe your Des Ricks. You've got different guys. You don't want to see TJ Ferguson transfer out after he played a couple of games on the offensive line this year. Who do you not want to see? You don't want to see Elijah Pritchett legit transfer out after he got just a little bit of reps, but Caden Proctor clearly beat him out and will still be in that tackle spot. Who do you not want to see? Is it one of those quarterbacks, maybe a Ty Simpson, a Dylan Lonergan, or an Eli Holstein? You've already seen Buckner go for lacrosse, and that's not really much of a loss from the Alabama fan perspective. I think that is a sayonara, good luck, hope you score lots of goals up there in South Bend at lacrosse. What is the guy or guys who you think, you know what, there's something about this guy that I like. There's something about this guy that we haven't seen much of him yet, but I hope Alabama doesn't lose him. I hope Alabama doesn't see him across the way at Georgia or Tennessee or Oklahoma or Texas or in some other school where you look at Christian Leary, maybe, it wasn't a huge loss, but went to Georgia Tech and has had a pretty nice little season. JoJo Earle at TCU as well. Who do we not want to lose?
I was upset about JoJo Earle at the time. I was a big JoJo Earle fan. That's a really, really.
Man, before you answer it, I want to give Wendell Hare his credit, and you can steal Wendell's pick if you'd like. Kobe Prentice chimes in, is Wendell's pick off the Facebook side. I always appreciate Wendell chiming in, watching us on Facebook and YouTube. You guys always can as well. Kobe Prentice is Wendell Hare's pick from our Facebook comments.
Kobe Prentice is a good one. I thought it was interesting you brought up Des Ricks. It's funny, the defense is kind of in a spot, especially the secondary. Obviously, we can assume that Kool-Aid and Terry and Arnold are both gone.
Certainly.
Probably both going to be first-round picks. So, Des Ricks is probably in a spot where he's going to have a really good chance to compete for a starting role. We got a nice preview of what Trey Amos can bring in after Kool-Aid got hurt in the SEC championship. So I think the secondary is in a pretty good spot. I don't think you're going to lose a ton there. I wouldn't love seeing Kendrick Blackshire leave, but I think that's certainly a possibility. I'll give you one that I've seen people throwing out in that Wendell, you kind of sparked it in my mind there. It's not Kobe Prentice, but I've seen a lot of people throw the name Kendrick Law out there in the transfer portal.
No.
And I would really hate to see it, but I would understand why. He's underutilized in this offense a little bit.
That's our gadget guy.
Yeah. No, for as good of a job as I think Tommy Rees has done this year, I think that's kind of been one of his flaws, underutilizing Law. But yeah, he's a guy that needs to be involved more, and they use him out of the backfield. They use him in these different ways, and I like it. I'd like to see more of it. Obviously, I think Bond is a severe notch above, Burton, whatever. Burton's gone. I would assume, at least he's headed to the NFL. All these guys have another year of eligibility if they want it, but we can assume that Burton is going to capitalize on the year he had and head to the NFL. But yeah.
Sidebar, aren't you glad that this is the final year of COVID extra years?
Yeah, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of just assuming this guy has an extra year of eligibility. Like, not to switch sports on you, and I love Javon Quinterly and respect everything he did. Well, what the hell is that guy still doing on a basketball court?
Making that NIL money, man.
Yeah, I get it. And he's probably not an NBA player, but man, he has no business playing for Memphis, right? And I'm a guy who does not like Memphis, but I'll root for him now. I like Javon Quinterly, but anyway. Yeah, I don't want to see Kendrick Law leave. I don't really want to see Ty Simpson leave, but I wouldn't blame him if he did. It seems like it just feels like someone's got to go from this quarterback room, right? They're kind of in a spot where obviously you can pretty much guarantee that Jalen Milroe, barring a shock NFL, go at it. I would, let's say he throws 400 yards in the Rose Bowl and throws 500 the national championship, just ridiculous thing, like a shock NFL entry from Jalen Milroe or a shock portal entry, which I won't even entertain. But let's assume that Jalen Milroe is the starting quarterback next year. Then it's Simpson, Lonergan, Holstein, and Julian Sayin coming in. Someone's kind of got to go. I don't want to see Ty Simpson go. And honestly, by everything I've heard and everything people have talked about, it sounds like he wants to stay and continue to develop, which I respect that more than anyone. But I don't when's the opportunity for him? The ideal succession plan in my mind, and I like Dylan Lonergan too, and Eli Holstein's kind of become an afterthought at this point, which stinks because I was pretty high on him as a recruit, but I really like Dylan Lonergan. In an ideal succession plan, you get Jalen Milroe for 1 year, I guess maybe two. I I'm ready to move on to Julian Sayin after freshman year. He kind of competes for his third or second string job. Then, kind of similar to Bryce Young in 2020 to 2021, sit the bench for a year. And then sophomore year, we're ready to go with Julian Sayin because he is that good. I don't think Ty Simpson or Dylan Lonergan or Eli Holstein is good enough to keep him off the field. So for Ty Simpson, I would hate it because I don't think he's going to – I think he would maybe end up in a place where we wouldn't love, where that is. We'll see. But I don't know. I mean, it feels like he's the odd guy out at this point. I mean, no one's going to force him out the door, but I mean, Saban might say to him, like, listen, like, I don't know when you're going to play. Obviously, you want him there. Like, what if Milroe gets hurt in week 1 next year or something like that? God forbid. But I don't know. It's hard to see a situation at this point where Ty Simpson is ever the starting quarterback at Alabama.
Doesn't Ty Simpson, and I know Arkansas just got a guy out of Boise State, I believe, to play quarterback, but doesn't Ty Simpson just like scream to you, South Carolina, Arkansas quarterback, like just kind of Kentucky quarterback.
Kentucky feels right.
Yeah. So we'll see.
It all would have been different if he hadn't dropped the ball at the goal line.
You should have. Look, just tell Dylan Lonergan, go play baseball full time. We'll clear up this quarterback room in no time. We'll clear it up in no time. Michael Brauner, is this Alabama basketball team who just lost to Purdue? Does this team stink?
I don't know. I don't think they stink. They got problems.
They got major problems.
Watching Charles Bediako's G League stats every week, kind of. I don't know why I continue to refresh that page. It just kind of upsets me every single time that they get beaten on the interior. I go, what's Charles Bediako doing in the G League right now? And say, oh, he's averaging 8.
Don't do it to yourself.
It's frustrating because I certainly think they would have beaten Purdue on Saturday. I could say some nasty things about Zach Edey. I'll refrain. I can't.
14 fouls. He draws 14 fouls, and then gives 3? Gives 4. Gives 3 fouls himself. Fouls out Nick Pringle. Fouls out Waggy.
Unreal. I mean, it was unbelievable. And props to Mark Sears. It was probably his best game in an Alabama uniform. Certainly offensively. But that result on Saturday, I don't know about you, it really did feel inevitable.
It did.
Like in the first half, like they were up 12 or whatever the biggest lead they had was. I can't even remember. It might not have even been that much. Obviously, it was 2 at halftime, but I kind of said in the first, all right, they're not going to.
And they made 13 threes in the first half.
And then they came out in the second half, and I kind of thought they were going to get dominated in the second half, and they built another 10-point lead. And I said, like, I let myself believe a little bit, but I still said, like they're in foul. All the bigs are in foul trouble. Like, you have to think Edey is going to take over here at some point, and you're just going to stop making shots, and they did. So, at a certain point, I didn't really super believe that they were going to win that game. But no, I don't think they stink because they are that good offensively. But yeah, they got problems. It's funny, like they're good enough offensively where the defense just needs to be like okay. Like it just needs to be okay. Like a little bit better. A little bit better. It just needs to not be terrible. It needs to not be giving up 92 points a game or whatever the number is. It needs to not be getting shredded by Clemson and Ohio State. And, it's Purdue and Zach Edey, whatever. Like, I'll excuse it. Like, you don't beat the number 4 team in the country in what's essentially a home game for them. Whatever. Like, it's not for Alabama basketball fans, obviously, like, you got to lower the expectations a little bit relative to last year. Like, they're probably going to lose to Creighton. They're probably going to lose to Arizona, frankly. I'd be thrilled if they win one of them. I think probably they have a better chance against Creighton. But again, they're both essentially road games. One true road game at Creighton and one in Phoenix against Arizona. So, like, they can play with these teams. They're a tournament team for sure. I mean, I think they're going to tune some things up by the time SEC play starts. But, no, I mean, they're not great. They're kind of fun. I can't really get a read on this team. I like them. I like Sam Walters. I don't know. They're hard to figure out right now.
Here's the deal. What you saw on Saturday is what you're going to see whenever they play any team of. I mean, what Tennessee's going to play it's going to be the exact same game plan for Tennessee and for Arkansas and for Auburn. Now, this team's going to beat some of the bad basketball teams, but there's not very many bad basketball teams left on the schedule. And so are they fun? You're right, but dude, you give up. You just laid it out. 92 to Purdue. You gave up 85 at home to Clemson and 92 to Ohio State. Like, the defense is atrocious. The defense is horrendous, and your interior presence, you're lacking an interior presence, and it's not like there's let's go to the transfer portal, let's trade for somebody, let's bring Chuck back. But you have a serious
like to bring Chuck back.
Yeah, you have a serious hole right there. And so. Exactly. Wendell's put it in right here. The only question is, can Bama basketball win against top-tier teams? I think what you saw on Saturday and what you saw against Ohio State is really going to be the game. Like, look, you can make shots, but will you make shots for 40 minutes? You can score in the 90s. We've seen them get to the hundreds a couple of times, but you can't stop anybody. You can't stop a daggum nosebleed. And of course, Edey's going to get his buckets. But what was it, Braden Smith? Braden Smith, 27 points. He was 4 of 7. You weren't guarding the pick and roll very well at all. And part of that's because you got a 7'4" monster. But you've had some of these basic concepts. Even against Ohio State, they had their guard. Their guard went crazy in that game. So you're not having very good on-ball defending. And so Zach Edey aside, it's just the effort doesn't – I don't know if it's an effort issue. I still haven't been able to is it an effort issue? Is it we're not smart enough issue to understand the rotations? Or is it a physicality issue? And if it's a physicality issue, you can't fix that. You can fix effort. You can fix understanding. I don't know if you listened to Nate Oates yesterday on Hey Coach, but he said something very concerning, and I'll throw this at you to respond to everything I just said as a close. Look, Nate Oates said that the defense he said, it's probably behind right now. Actually, no, it's not probably. It's obviously behind right now. We didn't start working on our defensive packages until we got into live practices. And I was like, what? That's basically August or so. That's basically mid-August or so. And it's you had these guys in the summer and y'all weren't working your defensive concept. Now, sometimes that's Nate Oates maybe just talking. Maybe that context is it could be to me mean mid-August, to him mean July. I have no idea. But it just seemed I don't know, you're really behind on the defensive side of the floor and really getting beat on some on-ball concepts. And that's going to be a problem when you play these elite teams.
It's discouraging if that's the case, but you'd almost hope it's something more like that than, like you said, the physicality issue. Because if it's a physicality issue, well, then, pack it in on defense until Aiden Sherrill gets here almost. Otherwise, what are you going to say? Just you can hope to outscore a bunch of teams this year, but you're not an elite. You're not going to be an elite defensive team. You're not going to be a good defensive team. You might not even be an average defensive team, and you're going to just have to try to outscore teams all season. Hope you make the tournament as a 8 seed this year, just throwing a number out there. And, maybe you win a game, maybe you win 2, probably not. And, it's just an average season for Alabama basketball. And then you regroup next year. Maybe that's just reality this year. I hope not, but it certainly might be. Something else I wanted to ask you about, because you go to the games. You've been tweeting about the crowds a lot. And I get it. I get it. Alabama football is still alive, and there's no one's in basketball mode.
Am I out of line?
No, I'll put a hand up myself and say this: I'm not in basketball mode. I was watching the game against Purdue and saying, geez, I wish this was football. Alabama football is not playing today. And I kind of wish they were. I get it. I get it more than anyone. But at the same time, if I was in Tuscaloosa, I'd damn sure be going to the games. What's going on there? At a certain point, you can't just say it's the arena, it's the arena, it's the arena. Although that being said, I do think a new arena would help. And I do think
the most BS answer.
I do also think that like what's happened with that new arena? Like Greg Burns kind of just said, oh, construction costs have gotten too much. Like it's like Nate Oates, I don't want to say this, but I mean, if it continues down this line, average basketball, empty arenas, bad arena, Nate Oates, like what's going to stop him from just, I don't know, taking an NBA job or something like that? Like why should, and again, I'm not advocating this, but why should he stay at a place where you have 20% capacity 5 minutes before tip-off in a dilapidated arena where Greg Burns doesn't show any inclination towards building the new one? Why should he stay? I don't want him to go, but why? Like, no one can really give me. I understand they're recruiting at as high level as anyone, but like other than like the support right now is not there. You hope it's there by the time SEC play starts and the time football season winds down. But I do think the new arena is a factor, and I do think it would, if like let's say it was built right now. Yeah, I do think it would be mostly full for most games, but I don't know. I think the fact that it hasn't really even. It's kind of just gone away, the new arena. Like, oh yeah, like it's just like they're gonna keep kicking the can down the road, and well, it's gonna lose the best coach maybe they've ever had eventually. I don't know. I'm just throwing.
Let me put you in Nate Oates' shoes, Michael Brauner, and let me say you're Nate Oates, and I am a high level donor, and I've got $100,000. Let's just round a nice round number. And I say, Coach Michael Brauner, you're coaching Alabama basketball. I've got this $100,000. Would you rather me throw this $100,000 into a pot for your new arena, or would you rather use it right now on a guy like Aiden Sherrill, or put it in a guy like Darian Reed's pocket, or a guy like a Brandon Miller's pocket? I think right now Nate Oates is making a different choice. Now, I do think that fund is growing, but I think it's growing very, 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 very slowly, and I don't think it's a very big priority. Now, I don't have really any sources that confirm that. It's just a feeling that I get.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, and people can. I got a lot of pushback for, oh, you're just trying to, push I don't know, push a narrative. I don't really even think that. I think asking for a new arena is a cop-out. I think people are going to show up or they're not going to show up. Like, the parking's not that difficult. You got free parking right there in the deck. It's a half a block walk. The tickets are cheap. It's good family-friendly entertainment. And then you talk about, oh, well, Monday night's a bad night. Oh, well, Tuesday night's a bad night. Oh, well, it's finals week. Oh, well, the kids are out of town. Oh, well, the kids are in town. Like, everything gets used as an excuse of why we didn't go to the basketball game. It's the same sort of thing of why we didn't go to the baseball game. Oh, if the weather wasn't 72 degrees and sunny, and it wasn't a Friday at 3:00 in the afternoon, and all my sales were done. Like, literally, just say you don't like basketball. Say you're just and like I hate this term, but say you're just a football only gum. Just say that. It's fine. Like just be yourself. Just say that I'll go watch them when they play Kentucky, because that's when that gets me excited. But I don't really give a rip if Nate Oates actually wins or not. I'll celebrate. I'll celebrate it to my buddies when I see it pop up on the app. But I just don't think I think that you have this big, like, ooh, Alabama basketball might be hipster to really to love them, and maybe that's why I do love them. Probably more than basketball or more than football, but it's just like there's 16 home games a year. We've now burned 4, 5, 6. We burned 6 or 7 of them, 5 or 6 of them. So you're at 9 or 10 home games left. And granted, several of them are going to be SEC games, so they're going to be better games. But you're also going to hear your Tuesday night at 6:00. It's Tuesday at 6:00. It's tough for the Birmingham crowd to get off work and get down there. So you can't fill in against South Carolina, or you can't fill in against like any team that's not Arkansas, Auburn, or Kentucky, essentially. Tennessee. You've got those kind of 4 squads in the SEC. Oh, Georgia's in town on a Wednesday night at 6:00. Oh, well, we've got church and small group, and Betsy's got her dance practice or whatever. And it's like, dude, just say you don't like basketball. Like, because I promise you, it drives me nuts the way they do Tide Pride. Though, and like I know that this is a bigger issue, but like you buy Tide Pride, you get basketball points, you don't have to go, you use your tickets, blah blah. It's fine. You're not gonna use your tickets. Nate Oates, somebody in the marketing department, you got to figure out a way to say, Bob, Bob, you're a great donor. We appreciate you. We're glad you scoring your Tide Pride points, Bob. But if you're not using your basketball tickets, we'll give you your points, but we got to throw these tickets into some sort of a donation system, or do some sort of thing where, all right, we've gone 16 minutes. You're the under 16 timeout. The student section that goes straight up into the corner of Coleman Coliseum can now come wrap around wherever the heck you want to sit. Wherever you want to sit, come sit. Because you got to do something to feel like, even if you're going to have sparse crowds, like what was it on the Monday night where they played Arkansas State, and I tweeted and got a little pushback. Like, it was a sparse crowd, but if the crowd had said, you know what, now that the game is at 12 minutes or so in the first half, we're all going to, just like the Baptist church, everybody come to the front row, everybody come on down, come to the front row, don't be shy, come down. You would have had a nice little feel for it. They reported 9,000 seats, 9,000 people there. There weren't 9,000 there. They were probably closer to 6.5, 7.
Too.
Yeah, and the students did show up. The students have been showing up. I want to give Jacob Pickle, the new Crimson Chaos president, you can hear on Blue Collar Unplugged, credit. They have been showing up. It's just you're not getting the, Bob who buys his tickets for Tide Pride. You're not getting the, lawyer Steve who's got four floor seats for he and his company, whatever the case may be. And then that's fine. You've got busy lives, but you've got jokers like myself and people who are nuts for Alabama athletics all throughout the West Alabama area who would say, oh, let me get those seats for a discounted rate, or let me, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to draw out the locals more so than, because you do have the student connection. I think the bridge next to Taco Bell, the 15th Street Bridge, has helped a lot get the traffic in and out of that area, make it more accessible. But I don't know what else you do to get butts into seats other than just say, all right, well, your excuse of, oh, it's Tuesday night at 6 and I don't care because they're not playing Kentucky. Just say you don't like basketball. That's where I am at this point.
The student section thing is so maddening because it's like the most obvious that it's like, look at every school in the country that has a good home court advantage. It's like, oh, what does the student section do? Wraps around the court. Oh, Auburn, Duke, Michigan State. Every student section that offers a semblance of a home court advantage. And again, when Coleman gets really loud, those 1, 2, maybe 3 times a year, like those few electric games last year, the Arkansas game when the whiteout, that was obviously the Iron Bowl last year. The IBOB was, probably the loudest the arena's ever been. Those are electric, but the problem is that it's once or twice a year. And it's mostly because the student section doesn't wrap around. That's, I think,
So why do you build a new arena for that? If they're just going to continue to say, well, we got the new arena, but Tuesday night at 6:00 against South Carolina, we've got small group, we've got church small group, we don't want to miss it.
Well, it is less seats. I think that's the biggest thing is cutting out, 5,000 seats or whatever the number was. I think Coleman is inherently too big. That's just reality. It's 15,000 seats. It just is what it is. It's not Kentucky.
It's a perfect multi-purpose arena.
I'm not advocating a tearing down of Coleman. I love Coleman. I want Coleman to stand for longer than I'm alive. But they need to be playing their home games in a 9,000 seater. I hate to give credit to the barn, but they have it figured out, man. Their little Cracker Jack box arena is perfect. It just is.
Yeah, the tickets are expensive as anything, just because.
Yeah.
Would you rather? I'd rather have the cheap tickets.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of angles to this one. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I just wanted to bring it up.
I know, and I'm really upset. I
Sorry to upset you at the end of this.
No, I just got a buddy who's been on me about trying to have a creative solution rather than just complain about it. And it's like, well, what
I think the first thing is wrapping the students around. I think that's
not going to do, like, Greg's just not going to do that to move the Tide Priders around. And so, like, it's you've got to have some sort of a rule. Like, when I'm sitting in the media section, it's great spot, love it. Thank you so much for having us there. But like, you look right directly to my left, and you have seats, and it's like, it's bodies here, bodies there, and you keep going a couple sections over, and it's the student section. Like, you bring half those people down closer to the court, and you just say, sorry, Charlie, you got to stand, because you've got to stand because your Tide Pride member didn't fill his seat, and so now it's filled with Sally sophomore. It's now filled with Freddie freshman, and they're going to stand the whole time, and you're going to have to stand. Like, maybe that's a way to say, you know what happened to me, Charlie? You didn't come sit, and so Sally sophomore came into your seat and was screaming the whole time. And you know what? Stevie Senior was yelling in my face the whole time to stand up. And you got to get in your seat next time, Charlie, and you got to bring your wife, so that way those daggum children don't come. Those children don't come and stand in my sightlines anymore. That way you can sit there and spit on your dip, and I'll bring the chew. You see, just like Nick Saban's dip cups, right? We'll be just like Coach Saban. Exactly. So maybe that's a solution. You just bother the Tide Priders with the students by saying,
harass them into giving up their tickets. Why do they want to go if they won't? Like, I don't know. Like,
the under 12 timeout, you say, you know what? It's a free for all seating at this point.
And if you're a Tide Prider who's sitting on your hands, you get yelled in your face to stand up until you give up your tickets. That's my best solution I've heard so far. So I mean that we might be onto something there.
Well, Nate Oates listens to this show every single day. So Nate, we love you so much. We appreciate you. Go listen to Michael Brauner. Go show up on Michael Brauner's morning show, Nate Oates. Listen to Michael Brauner on 105.5 WNSP, the Sound of Mobile app, on your iTunes, on your app store, wherever you get your apps, Android, if you're a weirdo. Michael, tell everybody what else is on your mind today, anything else that you've got for us, and where they can find you. What is the morning show officially called? And just kind of send us out of here on a Tuesday.
Yeah, the opening kickoff is where you can find. Again, you can find that all WNSP now on Spotify or the Sound of Mobile app if you want to listen to 105.5 live, or if you happen to be in Mobile, 105.5 is the channel. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens here in a couple weeks against Michigan. It's that's the one I've been wrestling with. Not to start another 10-minute thing here as much.
We
I can talk to you for 3 hours, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going back and forth on this one. I keep
tearing their butt up.
I'm convincing myself and then unconvincing myself that Michigan is better than Georgia. I think they're better defensively, but I don't know. I really am going back and forth on it. I think JJ McCarthy is better than Carson Beck, but again, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, you could tell me 10 different ways that this game goes on January 1st, and I'm not going to be surprised with
48-0.
Alabama or Michigan?
No, Alabama.
Wouldn't necessarily be surprised either way.
Nick Saban's not going to get 48-0 by Jimmy Harbaugh.
I don't know. He got
not by Jim Harbaugh.
28-piece by Dabo in a national championship game, but
and Dabo had a generational prospect. Jimmy Harbaugh. If he beats Nick Saban, it's going to be by the skin of his teeth. It's going to be by the hem of his khakis.
The hem of his khakis.
You can steal that line.
I'm gonna start using that one. Yeah. No, I've already written that down.
All right. Have a great day, Michael.
Well, I appreciate it, Joe.
Go listen to him. Follow him at M Brauner WNSP. We could do this the rest of the afternoon, but we both have better stuff to do.
Always good.
Absolutely. That's Michael Brauner joining us on the Joe Gaither Show. I always appreciate him. One of my great friends. I appreciate him. And do tune in to him on the opening kickoff 105.5 in Mobile, the Sound of Mobile app on all your app stores if you're on Android or iPhone. We always appreciate him hanging out with us. You can follow him again at M. Brauner WNSP. That's going to do it for our show today. We appreciate everybody who's watched us. Wendell Hare, love you so much for commenting throughout the show today. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Joe Gaither 6 on all your social media machines. Send us your comments, questions, queries, and complaints. You can always follow us at BamaCentral, BamaCentral.com, at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated on Facebook, BamaCentral on the X Machine, and BamaCentral SI on Instagram. So for everybody who's watched the show, I appreciate you guys so much. I saw a couple more of you guys have subscribed. We appreciate that so much. Rate and review the show. We'll be back with another episode of the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral tomorrow on BamaCentral at BamaCentral.com.